All right, so we've talked several times. If you're going through the podcast or you're reading the blogs, talked several times about shooting a lot in order to develop your basic fundamentals. And in order to shoot a lot, you either got to have a lot of money or you got to start reloading. Even reloading in your shooting lot is still really expensive. So one way that we can kind of mitigate that cost is casting bullets. And so I'm gonna just run through some of the tools and exactly what we're doing, kind of how to do it. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to take lead wheel weights. Now these are typically between like 3 to 6, maybe 8% antimony, and a little bit of tin. So the antimony just makes it a little bit harder so it doesn't lead up your barrel. And the tin, I guess, kind of thins it out, makes it fill the mold better. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt these down and then we're going to clean it. Once we clean them, we're going to pour it, and we're actually going to make these ingots. There's a couple different ingot molds out there. I've got these are 1 pound, and then I think half a pound. I've got this one here, which are 4 1 pounds, and then I just recently purchased this. I was going to see how this works out because this is about a 5 pound. So we're going to see how all that works out. But some of just your basic tools is I got just electric melting pot. I think it's a Lyman. And then everything else is just from the dollar store. So these are just a pack of spoons. I think there's 4 or 5 of them for $1. This is just to scoop out, let's see, on the lead here, you get these steel clips. So this just simply scoops out some of the trash. When the ingots are hot and you need to move them, this, you can just scoop it up in here and move it. And then a lot of times when I pour into these little ones, I just use this and I scoop up the lead and I just pour it over here. Sometimes what I have to do, like probably in this one, I'm going to pick this up and then dump it, which isn't safe. I don't recommend it, but that's what I'm going to do. So the way that you actually clean the lead, and let me go through that process. So this is actually, there we go. So this is actually kind of melting down here. So you can see there's all this stuff on top. So that's what we want to clean out. I have read and seen people use just about anything. So for the purpose of this video, I'm not wearing gloves. I do have some face protection on, stuff like that. You definitely want to wear gloves, but I can't manipulate all this stuff and hold the camera without gloves, or with gloves on, so I'm not going to have gloves on now. But what you don't want to do is have water droplets, anything anywhere near this. What happens if water gets inside of this, it basically evaporates immediately and then causes an explosion. So you can see this is got this skin on there and it's just completely melted. But anyway, so typically I think this runs between 650 to 700. I mean, obviously you can turn it up or turn it down, but the max is about 600 or 700. Because lead's gonna melt right around 650, kind of depends, but right around 650 is a good place to start melting lead. What you don't want to do is get zinc or some of the other stuff in there. But if you do, it's actually okay because it's not going to melt at 650. So you actually want to kind of run your lead level, your temperature pretty low. But as you can see, typically what I do is I just every couple seconds I'll stick a new piece in here. And what happens is lead actually is very hot, but it solidifies extremely quickly. So if I was to throw this on the ground, it would just immediately start cooling down and already turn hard. So usually what I do is once the lead's hot, about every 10 seconds I put one piece in there. So that allows the temperature to kind of stay up, because every time you throw a piece in there, it's going to immediately just start cooling it down. Another thing you want to do is make sure, obviously we talked about stuff not being wet. You don't want water anywhere. You want to make sure your spoons aren't wet. Nothing needs to be wet. But basically you see all this stuff down in here. So that's what this one's for. So if we can get most of that stuff out of there. And then basically all I do is I got a cookie sheet that I dump it on. Now, depending how what you want to do, these are stainless steel. If you want to have a bucket of them and you kind of clean them off and save them, you can definitely do that, and then take them back to the scrapyard for weight on steel, and then buy more lead. So here's the ingots after it's been cleaned. These have been sitting out here for quite a while, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and melt these down, and we're gonna put them in this. So, and this will just kind of show you, as soon as I dip this in here, you can see it just starts building lead up on there, because that lead solidifies so quickly. But we're just gonna drop that in there, and then I usually just stir it around. And this is actually the first video I'm doing on starting to make your own bullets, so I'm going through this pretty quickly just to get a little bit, just kind of get a video up and some general information just for anybody who's kind of interested. So pay attention. I'll actually go back and I'll make a better video and kind of start at the very beginning on really where to start, because when I first started this, I was nervous. I didn't have any clue what to do, really where to start. So it made me extremely uncomfortable knowing that there's 700 degree liquid metal, within a couple feet of my face, which is why we need a heat shield, face shield. But I'll go back over. I'll make another video and I'll go back over the safety, and I'll go a little bit more specific into the tools that you need. When it comes to casting, I really want to do it as least expensive as possible. So just about every utensil, tool, anything I get is going to be recycled. It's going to be from something else. I think the only thing I've really spent money on specifically was the pot, and obviously the little tools, but I mean all this stuff was literally from the dollar store, like where everything costs $1. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna scoop all this trash out, and again, this is just a quick rundown. So we talked a little bit about cleaning, so you can really clean this with just about anything. What I use is wax. This is just from either old candles or those wax burners. If you know what I'm talking about, the things that smell good that goes in the bathroom or whatever it is. And basically I just take if I can show this, just take a hot spoon with a small piece of wax in it, put it in here. Now this is going to catch on fire, so definitely be aware of that, and it's going to smoke, which is why I have the fan on. Of course I don't have it on right now, but basically it's going to catch on fire, and it's going to pull some of the impurities and the dirt and the stuff out of the actual lead, and then as you can see, it's kind of turning a little yellowish gold. But all we gotta do is stir all that up, make sure we're scraping the sides. And then just for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna test out this big one, but for right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour a couple ingots in here. So when we're talking about lead, we talked about it being, solidifying very quickly. So anything that you use, I mean, the spoons and stuff don't really matter, but when you pour an ingot, you really want your mold to be hot. And I do a pretty good job at it, but you can see as it kind of cools down, maybe these ridges here, that means the bottom started cooling a little bit quicker than the rest of them. So obviously on this it doesn't really matter, because these ingots don't need to be pretty, but on your bullets is where it's going to matter. Whenever you start getting molds, you're actually going to, what I do is I dip my mold into the lead and get it nice and hot. So just as a real quick demonstration, and I do it with this too, I'll usually just kind of dip this in here just to start warming it up. Now with lead doesn't get like so hot that you have to worry about pouring it into a cold mold to where it would explode. I think when it comes to brass and aluminum for any metal or religious, whatever it is out there. So if you take, I think, I can't remember, brass, some other things, they start melting at like 1200 degrees. So if you actually were to do this, it would explode because the mold's so cold. Right, so there we go. That's pretty much it. So let me show you exactly how fast this solidifies. So you see the center's kind of shiny. So this is already nice and hard. That's what she said. But yeah. Now normally I do like to get these a little bit better because I stack these, and so as you can see, it's not perfectly even, but again, this was just for a demonstration purpose. So that's actually going to be all for now, and I'll do another video kind of going back, see how hot it is. It actually just immediately melted because it was still so hot. But anyway, so I'll make some other videos starting from the very beginning. I just wanted to make something, post it up just so you can see what's coming up on the YouTube channel, kind of on the podcast, and some other things we're going to be getting into. So thank you guys very much for watching.